I should have known better than to trust her. My name is Heidi, and I'm about to tell you how my mother-in-law destroyed my life with a smile on her face and a pen in her hand. But first, let me take you back to when I thought she was my biggest supporter. Heidi, darling, you absolutely must apply for the Pemberton Fellowship, Harmony said, setting down her wine glass with that decisive clink that meant she'd made up her mind about something. It's perfect for someone with your academic background. We were sitting in her pristine dining room, the kind where every piece of furniture cost more than my car. Bobby squeezed my hand under the table, beaming with pride. Even after 2 years of marriage, he still got that look whenever his mother praised me. I don't know, I said, twisting my wedding ring. The competition is insane. They only take 12 people worldwide. Nonsense. Harmony leaned forward, her perfectly manicured fingers drumming against the mahogany table. You graduated summa cum laude. Your thesis on international development policy was groundbreaking. I've seen the caliber of students who get these fellowships, and you're better than half of them. Coming from anyone else, I might have rolled my eyes. But Harmony wasn't just anyone. She was Dean of Academic Affairs at one of the most prestigious universities in the country. When she said something about academic merit, people listened. The application deadline is in 3 weeks, I said, already feeling that familiar flutter of possibility in my chest. Then we'd better get started. Harmony stood up, smoothing her silk blouse. I'll write your recommendation letter personally. With my endorsement, you'll be a shoo-in. Bobby's younger brother, Taylor, looked up from his phone. That's so cool, Heidi. You're like going to be famous or something. Don't be ridiculous, Taylor, Paige said, not looking up from cutting her salmon into precise, identical pieces. It's just a fellowship. Just a fellowship? Bobby laughed. Paige, this would set Heidi up for life. She could work anywhere in the world after this. Paige's fork paused mid-air. Well, I suppose that depends on what you consider important. Some people value stability and family over gallivanting around the globe. The temperature in the room seemed to drop a few degrees. I felt Bobby tense beside me. Paige, Harmony's voice carried a warning. What? I'm just saying there are different priorities in life. Some people are content building something meaningful at home instead of chasing every shiny opportunity that comes along. The Pemberton Fellowship isn't just any opportunity, I said, trying to keep my voice level. It's a chance to work with the UN on sustainable development initiatives, the kind of work that actually changes lives. Of course, dear. Paige smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I'm sure it's very important work. I just think it's wonderful when couples can build their careers together in the same place. But that's just me. Enough, Harmony said sharply. Heidi, ignore your sister-in-law. She's being provincial. This fellowship is exactly what you need to take your career to the next level. The rest of dinner passed in relative peace, but I caught Paige shooting me looks when she thought I wasn't paying attention. After dessert, Harmony pulled me aside in the kitchen. Don't let Paige get to you, she said, loading plates into the dishwasher with mechanical precision. She's always been jealous of ambitious women. It's why she's stuck in that dead-end marketing job. I don't want to cause problems in the family. You're not causing anything. You're pursuing excellence, which is exactly what you should be doing. Harmony turned to face me, her expression intense. Heidi, I see something special in you, something that shouldn't be wasted. Let me help you reach your potential. The sincerity in her voice made my throat tight. My own mother had never spoken to me like that, never seen my dreams as anything more than impractical fantasies. Thank you, I whispered. That means everything to me. Then it settled. Send me your application materials by Friday, and I'll have the recommendation letter ready by Monday. We're going to make this happen. 3 weeks later, I submitted what I knew was the strongest application of my life. Harmony's recommendation letter was glowing. She'd shown me a draft that made me sound like the next Nobel laureate. Bobby took me out to celebrate, convinced we'd be planning my move to Geneva within months. The rejection email arrived on a Tuesday morning, And it didn't just crush my dreams, it obliterated them. We regret to inform you that your application has been denied due to serious concerns regarding your character and professional integrity. I read those words 5 times before they sank in. Character concerns, professional integrity. What the hell was happening? I called Bobby first, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. They rejected me, I said the moment he picked up. But Bobby, they're saying there are character concerns. Character concerns. What does that even mean? Slow down, babe. What exactly did the email say? I read him the whole thing, my voice cracking on every word. When I finished, there was silence on the other end. That's insane, he finally said. There has to be some mistake. You're the most ethical person I know. I need to see my application file. I need to know what they're talking about. Of course. We'll figure this out together, okay? Maybe someone mixed up your file with someone else's. But even as he said it, I could hear the uncertainty in his voice. I called Alyssa next. She'd been my closest friend since grad school and now worked in university admissions. If anyone could help me navigate this nightmare, it was her. Holy shit, Heidi, she said after I explained everything. Character concerns? That's not language they use lightly. Someone must have written something really damaging. But who would do that? My professors love me. My references were all positive. Wait, who wrote your letters of recommendation? Professor Martinez from my master's program, Dr. Kim from my thesis committee, and Harmony. Alyssa was quiet for a moment. Heidi, you need to request your full application file. Like, immediately. Something's not right here. I spent the next 2 hours on the phone with the fellowship committee, being transferred from one person to another. Finally, a tired-sounding administrator told me they couldn't release application materials due to confidentiality agreements with recommenders. But it's my application, I said. How can I not see my own file? I'm sorry, but that's our policy. The decision is final. I hung up and screamed into a pillow until my throat was raw. That evening, I sat across from Harmony at another family dinner, studying her face for any sign of, what, guilt, satisfaction? But she looked exactly the same as always, composed, elegant, slightly bored by the conversation happening around her. I heard about the fellowship, she said when Bobby stepped away to help Taylor with homework. I'm so sorry, dear. These committees can be terribly political. They mentioned character concerns, I said, watching her reaction carefully. Do you have any idea what that could mean? Harmony's expression didn't change. Character concerns? How odd. Perhaps there was some misunderstanding about your academic record? Or maybe they confused you with another candidate? Maybe. I took a sip of wine, trying to calm my nerves. I just wish I could see what they're basing this on. Well, these things happen for a reason, Harmony said, cutting into her chicken with surgical precision. Perhaps it's time to focus on what really matters, supporting Bobby, building a stable life here. Not everyone is meant for international careers. The words hit me like a slap. What do you mean by that? Nothing negative, of course. It's just that some people are better suited for different paths. There's no shame in recognizing your limitations. I stared at her, feeling like I was seeing her clearly for the first time. Limitations? Heidi, Bobby said, returning to the table. You okay? You look pale. I'm fine, I lied. After dinner, I helped Harmony clear the dishes while everyone else moved to the living room. We worked in silence until she suddenly spoke. You know, Heidi, I've been thinking about your situation. Oh? She turned to face me, and for a split second, her mask slipped. The warmth was gone, replaced by something cold and calculating. Maybe this rejection is a blessing in disguise. Your place is here, with your husband, not gallivanting around Europe playing at being important. Her voice was barely above a whisper, but every word was razor sharp. Some people need to learn to be content with what they have instead of always reaching for more. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. What are you saying? but just as quickly as it had appeared, the mask was back in place. I'm saying that everything happens for a reason, dear. Now, shall we join the others? I followed her into the living room on autopilot, my mind reeling. Bobby was laughing at something Taylor had said, completely oblivious to what had just happened in the kitchen. "You're quiet tonight," he said, pulling me down onto the couch beside him. "Just tired," I managed. But as I sat there, surrounded by his family, one thought kept echoing in my head. Harmony knew something. And whatever it was, she was glad I'd been rejected. I was going to find out what she'd done to me. And when I did, she was going to pay for it. I waited 3 days before calling Zane. He was Bobby's friend from college, worked in IT at the university, and had always been kind to me. More importantly, he'd seen enough of Harmony's behavior at family gatherings to know she wasn't the saint everyone thought she was. "Heidi, what's up?" His voice was cautious when he answered. "I need a favor, a big one." "Okay, what kind of favor?" I took a deep breath. "I need you to help me get a copy of something from the university system. Something I should have access to, but they're blocking me from seeing." Silence stretched between us. Finally, he sighed. "This is about the fellowship rejection, isn't it?" "How did you—" "Bobby mentioned it. Look, Heidi, I can't just hack into confidential files. I could lose my job." "I'm not asking you to hack anything. I just need you to help me access my own application materials. They're stonewalling me, and I think someone wrote something terrible about me." "Who would do that?" I couldn't bring myself to say it out loud yet. "I don't know. That's what I need to find out." Another long pause. "Meet me at the coffee shop on 5th Street tomorrow at lunch. And Heidi, don't tell anyone about this conversation." The next day, Zane looked nervous as he slid into the booth across from me. He kept glancing around like he expected campus security to burst through the door. "I've been thinking about this all night," he said. "If I do this and get caught, it's not just my job on the line. It's criminal charges. I understand. But Zane, someone destroyed my reputation and I don't even know what they said about me. How is that fair?" He studied my face for a long moment. "You really think someone sabotaged you?" "I know it sounds paranoid, but yes. The language in that rejection letter, it wasn't about my qualifications. It was personal." Zane pulled out his laptop and opened it, shielding the screen from other customers. "Okay, I can't promise anything, but let me see what I can do. What's your student ID number?" I rattled it off, my heart pounding as he typed. After what felt like forever, he turned the screen toward me. "I found your file. The recommendation letters are here, but they're password protected. I can download them, but once I do this, there's no going back. Are you sure you want to know?" My mouth was dry. "Yes." He clicked a few more keys, then closed the laptop. "I'll email these to you from a secure account. Check your messages in an hour." "Zane, thank you. I owe you." "You don't owe me anything. Just be careful with whatever you find, okay?" That hour was the longest of my life. When the email finally came, I stared at the attachment for 5 full minutes before opening it. There were 3 files, one from each of my recommenders. Professor Martinez's letter was glowing, just as I'd expected. Dr. Kim's was equally positive. Then I opened the 3rd file. The letter was from Harmony, but it wasn't the one she'd shown me. This one was a masterpiece of character assassination disguised as professional concern. While Ms. Heidi possesses adequate academic credentials, I have serious reservations about her character and professional integrity. During our association, I have observed troubling patterns of dishonesty, manipulation, and a concerning willingness to compromise ethical standards for personal gain. The letter went on for 2 pages, painting me as a manipulative liar who couldn't be trusted with any position of responsibility. Every sentence was carefully crafted to sound professional while being utterly devastating. I read it 3 times before the full impact hit me. This wasn't just sabotage, it was character murder. My phone rang. Bobby. "Hey babe, how was your day?" "Fine," I said, my voice sounding strange even to me. "You sure? You sound weird." I'm just tired, long day. Well, get some rest. Mom invited us for dinner tomorrow night. She's making that pasta dish you like. After I hung up, I sat staring at the letter until the words blurred together. Then I called Alyssa. She destroyed me, I said without preamble when she answered. What? Who? Harmony. I got a copy of her recommendation letter. Alyssa, she called me dishonest and manipulative. She said I have no professional integrity. Jesus Christ, are you sure it's really from her? It has her digital signature, her university letterhead, everything. But here's the thing, she showed me a completely different letter before I submitted my application, a glowing one. That bitch wrote 2 letters? She played me perfectly, made me think she was supporting me while she was stabbing me in the back. Alyssa was quiet for a moment. Heidi, this is bigger than just the fellowship. If she sent this to other places, my blood ran cold. What do you mean? Recommendation letters don't just disappear. They get filed, shared, referenced. If she's been bad-mouthing you to other institutions, I felt sick. How do I find out? You need to contact every place that might have received information about you. Graduate programs, job applications, anything where her opinion might carry weight. I spent the next 2 hours making calls. By the end, I had my answer. Harmony's poison had spread far beyond the fellowship committee. She'd sent versions of that letter to 3 other institutions I'd applied to over the past year. I'd been blacklisted, and I hadn't even known it. The scope of Harmony's sabotage hit me like a freight train. 3 other institutions. 3 other opportunities she'd poisoned with her lies. I sat at my kitchen table surrounded by printed emails, phone records, and notes, building my case like I was preparing for war, because that's exactly what this was. You need to report her, Alyssa said over video chat, her face serious on my laptop screen. This isn't just personal vendetta territory anymore. This is professional misconduct on a massive scale. Report her to who? She's a dean, Alyssa. Who's going to believe me over her? The University Ethics Board. They handle this kind of thing. I laughed bitterly. Right. And who do you think sits on that board? Her colleagues? Her friends? Not all of them. Alyssa leaned closer to her camera. Remember Professor Griffin, your favorite from undergrad? The name hit me like lightning. Erin Griffin, the brilliant professor who'd inspired me to pursue international development in the first place. She'd left our university suddenly during my senior year, right after some kind of scandal. What about her? She's at State University now. Just got appointed head of their ethics board. Heidi, if anyone would understand what you're going through, it's her. I stared at Alyssa's pixelated face. What scandal? I never found out what really happened. Nobody talked about it officially, but there were rumors. Something about research funding being questioned, her integrity being challenged. Sound familiar? My hands started shaking. You think Harmony was involved? I think Harmony has a pattern, and you're not her first victim. After we hung up, I spent an hour crafting an email to Professor Griffin. I attached everything, Harmony's fake letter, the real one, documentation of the other institutions that had been contacted, and a timeline of events. My finger hovered over the send button for 10 minutes. Once I sent this, there would be no going back. I'd be declaring war on my husband's mother, potentially destroying my marriage, definitely tearing apart his family. I hit send. Professor Griffin called me 2 hours later. Heidi, I just read your email. Can you meet me tomorrow? I'm driving down to the city. You believe me? Oh, I more than believe you. I've been waiting 12 years for someone to finally expose what that woman really is. We met at a small cafe downtown. Professor Griffin looked older than I remembered, but her eyes still held that sharp intelligence that had made her lectures so captivating. Tell me everything, she said after we'd ordered coffee. I walked her through the entire story, from Harmony's initial encouragement to the devastating rejection letter. She listened without interrupting, occasionally taking notes. The letter she showed you versus the one she actually sent, she said finally. Do you still have both? I have screenshots of the fake one she showed me, and Zane got me the real one from the system. Zane could get in serious trouble for that. I know. But Professor Griffin, what she did to me, she's done it before, hasn't she? To you? Her jaw tightened. 12 years ago, I was up for a major research grant. Harmony was on the review committee. She seemed supportive, even helped me refine my proposal. Then suddenly questions arose about my previous work. Allegations of data manipulation that were completely fabricated. What happened? I couldn't prove she was behind it, but I knew. The investigation dragged on for months. Even though I was eventually cleared, the damage was done. My reputation was shot. My funding dried up. I had to leave. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Be angry. Because now we have a chance to stop her from doing this to anyone else. She leaned forward. Heidi, I need you to understand something. If we pursue this, it's going to get ugly. Harmony will fight back with everything she has. She already destroyed my career. What else can she do to me? She can destroy your marriage, your relationships with Bobby's family. She can make your life hell in ways you haven't even imagined yet. I thought about Bobby, about how devastated he'd be when he learned the truth about his mother, about Taylor, who looked up to me, about the family dinners that would never be the same. She made her choice when she decided to destroy me, I said. Now I'm making mine. Professor Griffin smiled for the first time since we'd sat down. Good, because I've been documenting Harmony's behavior for years, waiting for the right moment. You just gave it to me. She pulled out a thick folder from her briefcase. I've kept records of every questionable decision she's made, every career she's derailed, every student who's come to me with stories similar to yours. We're not just going after her for what she did to you, Heidi. We're going after her for all of it. I stared at the folder, realizing I wasn't alone in this fight. How many others? At least 8 that I can prove. Probably more who were too scared to come forward. What do we do now? Now we file a formal complaint with the University Ethics Board, and then we watch Harmony's world burn. The university moved faster than I expected. Within a week of filing the complaint, Harmony received a formal notice that she was under investigation. I knew because Bobby came home that night looking like he'd been hit by a truck. Mom got called into a meeting with the ethics board, he said, slumping onto our couch. They're investigating her for professional misconduct. I kept my face neutral while my heart hammered against my ribs. What kind of misconduct? Something about recommendation letters. She thinks it's politically motivated. You know how cutthroat academia can be. I'm sure it'll work out, I said, hating how easily the lie rolled off my tongue. Bobby looked at me with those trusting eyes that had made me fall in love with him. She asked if you might know anything about it. Apparently, your name came up in the complaint. My name? She thinks maybe you're being used as a pawn by someone with a grudge against her. She's worried about you, babe. I almost laughed at the audacity. Even while under investigation, Harmony was spinning herself as the victim and me as the naive fool being manipulated by her enemies. I should probably call her, I said. Make sure she knows I support her. The next morning, I dialed Harmony's number. She answered on the first ring. Heidi, darling, I'm so glad you called. I assume Bobby told you about this ridiculous investigation? He did. I'm so sorry you're going through this. It's clearly a witch hunt orchestrated by my enemies, but I'm not worried. The truth always comes out. Her voice was smooth as silk, but I could hear the steel underneath. I do hope you'll be willing to speak on my behalf if needed. Your testimony about our positive relationship would be very helpful. Of course, I said, anything I can do to help. Wonderful. I knew I could count on you. After I hung up, I felt sick. She was so confident, so sure she could manipulate everyone around her. Even now, she thought she had me under her thumb. That afternoon, Paige called. We need to talk, she said without preamble. Can you meet me for coffee? I found her at a Starbucks near her office, looking more serious than I'd ever seen her. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. I know you filed that complaint against Mom. My blood turned to ice. What are you talking about? Don't lie to me, Heidi. I've known my mother my entire life. I know how she operates, and I know what she's capable of. Paige leaned across the small table. The question is, do you have any idea what you've unleashed? She destroyed my career, Paige. She lied about me to multiple institutions. I know. The admission hit me like a slap. I've known for years that she does this to people who threaten her or don't fit into her perfect vision of how things should be. Then why didn't you ever say anything? Because she's my mother. Paige's voice cracked. Because I was scared of what would happen if I crossed her. Because I'm a coward, okay? We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of her confession hanging between us. She's going to destroy you for this, Paige said quietly. She's already started digging into your past, looking for anything she can use against you. She's calling in favors, spreading rumors, poisoning wells you don't even know exist yet. Let her try. I have evidence. Evidence won't matter if no one's willing to listen to it, and Mom has a lot of friends in high places. Not all of them. Paige studied my face. You have someone on the inside, don't you? Someone she can't touch. I didn't answer, but my expression must have given me away. Jesus, Heidi, you really think you can win this? I think she's gotten away with ruining people's lives for too long. And what about Bobby? What about Taylor? What about our family? What about all the people she's destroyed over the years? Don't they matter? Paige's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and paled. She wants to see me, right now. Paige, don't. Whatever you're about to say, just don't. She stood up, gathering her purse. I can't protect you from what's coming, but I can give you one piece of advice. Watch your back. Mom doesn't just destroy careers, she destroys lives. That evening, Bobby was unusually quiet during dinner. Finally, he set down his fork and looked at me. Mom wants to have a family meeting tomorrow night. She says there are some things we need to discuss about this investigation. What kind of things? She wouldn't say. But Heidi, he reached across the table and took my hand. Whatever happens, we'll get through it together, okay? I squeezed his hand, knowing it might be one of the last times he'd look at me with such trust and love. Together, I agreed, the word tasting like ash in my mouth. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Stop now or I'll make sure you lose everything that matters to you. This is your only warning. H. I deleted the message and smiled. Game on, Harmony. The family meeting was set for Sunday dinner, but Professor Griffin called me that morning with news that changed everything. The investigation committee wants to interview you tomorrow, she said. But Heidi, there's something else. We found more victims. How many more? 6 additional cases we can substantiate. Students, junior faculty, even a visiting researcher from Germany. Harmony has been systematically destroying careers for over a decade. I sat down hard on my kitchen chair. 12 years of this? At least. And here's the kicker. She kept files, detailed records of everyone she considered a threat to the university's reputation or her own position. Files? Digital records, correspondence, even personal information she gathered on people. The IT department found them during their investigation. Heidi, your name is in there, along with detailed notes about your marriage to Bobby, your academic history, even your financial situation. My hands started shaking. She was planning this from the beginning. It looks that way, but there's more. Paige's name is in there too. Paige, but she's her daughter. Apparently, Harmony was concerned about Paige's lack of ambition and tendency toward defiance. She has contingency plans for controlling her too. I thought about Paige's warning yesterday. her admission that she'd known about her mother's behavior, but stayed silent out of fear. Professor Griffin, what happens now? Now we present everything to the full ethics board. With this much evidence, there's no way they can ignore it or sweep it under the rug. After we hung up, I stared at my phone, dreading the evening ahead. Bobby would be expecting me at his mother's house in a few hours, completely unaware that his world was about to implode. I arrived at Harmony's house to find the whole family already gathered in the living room. The atmosphere was tense. Taylor kept glancing between his mother and me, Paige sat rigid in her chair, and Bobby looked like he hadn't slept. Now that we're all here, Harmony began, her voice carrying that familiar authority, I want to discuss this investigation and how it affects our family. She was dressed impeccably as always, but I noticed the slight tremor in her hands as she reached for her wine glass. As you all know, I'm being targeted by individuals who want to damage my reputation and, by extension, this family's standing in the community. Mom, Taylor interrupted, what exactly are they accusing you of? Harmony's smile was razor-sharp. They're claiming I wrote negative recommendation letters about certain individuals. It's completely fabricated, of course. But why would anyone make that up? Taylor pressed. Because, darling, success breeds jealousy. There are people who resent my position, my influence, and they're using this investigation to try to bring me down. I watched Bobby's face as his mother spoke. He wanted to believe her. I could see it in his eyes, but doubt was creeping in. The problem, Harmony continued, turning her gaze directly to me, is that some people in this family might be unknowingly helping my enemies. What do you mean? Bobby asked. I mean that someone has been feeding information to the investigators. Someone with access to our family conversations, our private discussions. Her eyes never left mine. Someone who might think they're doing the right thing, but is actually being manipulated. The room went dead silent. Taylor looked confused. Paige stared at her lap, and Bobby's face went pale. Mom, are you suggesting that someone in this room... I'm not suggesting anything, Harmony said smoothly. I'm simply pointing out that the timing of this investigation is very convenient for certain people who might benefit from my downfall. That's enough. The voice came from an unexpected source. Paige. She stood up, her hands clenched into fists. Just stop it, Mom. Paige, sit down. No, I'm done sitting down. I'm done staying quiet while you destroy people. Paige turned to face the rest of us. She did it. Everything they're investigating, she did it. Harmony's mask finally slipped. You ungrateful little... I've seen the files, Mom. The ones you keep on all of us. Yes, even me. Even your own daughter isn't safe from your need to control everything and everyone. Bobby stood up slowly. What files? Ask her, Paige said, pointing at Harmony. Ask her about the detailed records she keeps on everyone she considers a threat. Ask her about the backup plans she has for controlling our lives. Those files are confidential university business, Harmony snapped, but her composure was cracking. University business? I finally spoke up. Is that what you call the file you kept on me? The one where you documented my marriage, my finances, my career goals, so you could figure out the best way to destroy me? Bobby's head whipped toward me. Heidi, what are you talking about? Your mother wrote a recommendation letter that destroyed my fellowship application and blacklisted me from other opportunities. She's been systematically ruining careers for over a decade. That's a lie, Harmony said, but her voice was shrill now. I have copies of the letters, Bobby, the fake one she showed me and the real one she sent. I have documentation of every institution she contacted to poison my reputation. Bobby looked between his mother and me, his world visibly crumbling. Mom, tell me this isn't true. Harmony straightened her shoulders, her mask sliding back into place. Everything I did was to protect this family, to protect you from making a mistake that would have ruined your marriage. The admission hung in the air like a bomb that had just gone off. You did it, Bobby whispered. You actually did it. I saved your marriage, Harmony said coldly. That woman would have left you the moment she got that fellowship. I protected you from abandonment. Taylor stood up abruptly. I can't listen to this anymore. Heidi, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He walked out, leaving the rest of us in stunned silence. The ethics board hearing was held in the university's main conference room. I sat in the witness section, watching Harmony enter with her lawyer, a sharp-looking woman in an expensive suit who probably cost more per hour than I made in a week. Professor Griffin sat at the head of the long table, flanked by 4 other board members. She'd warned me that this wouldn't be easy, that Harmony would fight back with everything she had. This hearing will address allegations of professional misconduct against Dean Harmony Boyd, Professor Griffin announced. We'll begin with testimony from the complainant. I stood up, my legs shaky but my voice steady. My name is Heidi Boyd. I'm married to the respondent's son. Harmony's lawyer immediately objected. The complainant's relationship to my client creates an obvious bias and conflict of interest. Noted, Professor Griffin said. Please continue, Ms. Boyd. I walked them through everything, the fellowship application, Harmony's fake encouragement, the devastating rejection, and the discovery of her real recommendation letter. I presented the evidence methodically, screenshots, email records, documentation from other institutions. The respondent didn't just sabotage one application, I said. She systematically destroyed my reputation across multiple institutions while pretending to support me. Harmony's lawyer stood up. My client was exercising her professional judgment based on legitimate concerns about the complainant's character and suitability. What legitimate concerns? Professor Griffin asked. The lawyer shuffled through her papers. Dean Boyd observed troubling patterns of behavior that raised questions about Ms. Boyd's integrity and professional conduct, such as manipulation of family relationships for personal gain, dishonesty about her true intentions regarding the fellowship, and a concerning pattern of... That's enough, Professor Griffin interrupted. Do you have documentation of these alleged behaviors? The lawyer hesitated. My client's professional observations and judgment. Documentation, counselor, not opinions. The documentation speaks for itself in the recommendation letter. Professor Griffin turned to Harmony. Dean Boyd, you're required to testify under oath. Do you swear that the contents of your recommendation letter were based on factual observations? Harmony stood up, still maintaining her composure. I swear that everything I wrote was based on my professional assessment of the complainant's character and suitability for the fellowship. And yet you showed Ms. Boyd a completely different letter before she submitted her application? That was a draft. I revised my assessment after further consideration. Further consideration of what, specifically? Harmony's pause lasted too long. Additional observations of her behavior and motivations. Professor Griffin opened a thick folder. Dean Boyd, are you familiar with the digital files recovered from your university computer? The color drained from Harmony's face. I don't know what you're referring to. Files containing detailed personal information about students, faculty, and staff. Information that goes far beyond professional assessments. Professor Griffin pulled out several documents. Files that include financial records, personal relationships, and what appear to be strategic plans for influencing or controlling individuals' careers. Harmony's lawyer leaned over to whisper something, but Harmony waved her away. Those files contain confidential university business. University business that includes your daughter-in-law's bank statements, her husband's employment history, her personal correspondence with friends and colleagues. The room was dead silent. I could feel the other board members' shock radiating across the table. Dean Boyd, Professor Griffin continued, we've identified 12 individuals whose careers were negatively impacted by your actions over the past 15 years. Would you like to explain why you systematically targeted people who posed no threat to university operations? I protected this institution. You protected your own position by eliminating anyone you perceived as competition or a challenge to your authority. Bobby's voice came from behind me. I'd like to testify. Everyone turned. He was standing in the back of the room, looking like he'd aged 10 years since Sunday night. Mr. Boyd, you weren't scheduled to appear today, Professor Griffin said gently. I know, but I need to say this. He walked forward, his eyes fixed on his mother. I've known my whole life that my mother was controlling, but I thought it was just overprotectiveness. I never imagined she was capable of this. Bobby, don't, Harmony said, her voice cracking for the first time. She admitted it, in front of our whole family. She said she destroyed my wife's career to protect me. She said Heidi would have left me if she'd gotten the fellowship. Bobby's voice was getting stronger. My mother decided my wife was a threat to her vision of our family, so she destroyed her dreams. That's not, Harmony started. It is exactly what happened. And if she did it to Heidi, she did it to all these other people too. Professor Griffin looked at Harmony. Dean Boyd, do you have anything else to say in your defense? Harmony stood there for a long moment, her perfect composure finally crumbling. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. I did what I thought was necessary. Necessary for what? To maintain order, to protect what mattered. By destroying innocent people's careers? Harmony lifted her chin, and for a moment the mask was completely gone. What I saw underneath was cold, calculating, and utterly without remorse. I have no regrets about protecting my family and my institution from people who would have damaged them. The hearing ended 20 minutes later. As we filed out, Harmony walked past me without a word. But I caught her eye, and in that moment, I saw something that chilled me to the bone. She wasn't sorry. She was just sorry she'd been caught. The university's decision came down 3 days after the hearing. Professor Griffin called me personally to deliver the news. Harmony's tenure has been revoked, effective immediately, she said. She's been terminated for cause, which means no severance, no benefits, and her pension is under review. What about the other victims? The university is reaching out to everyone affected. They're offering to write corrective letters, provide new recommendations, and in some cases, financial compensation for damages. I hung up and stared at my phone. It was over. Harmony had finally faced consequences for her actions, but the victory felt hollow when Bobby walked through our front door that evening, looking like a ghost. It's all over the news, he said, slumping onto our couch. Local stations, academic journals, social media, everyone's calling her a monster. Bobby. She is a monster, isn't she? He looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. My mother destroyed people's lives for sport, and I never saw it. You couldn't have known. Couldn't I? All those times she made snide comments about people, all the careers that mysteriously stalled around her, all the students who just disappeared from programs. He rubbed his face with his hands. I think part of me always knew, but I didn't want to see it. We sat in silence for a while. Finally, Bobby spoke again. I don't know how to forgive you. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? You lied to me for weeks. You went behind my back, enlisted my friends, destroyed my family. I know she deserved it, but you lied to me. I tried to tell you, no, you didn't. You made the decision to destroy my mother without ever giving me a choice in the matter. I wanted to argue, to defend myself, but he was right. I had lied. I had gone behind his back. I had chosen revenge over trust. I'm sorry, I said. I know you are, but I don't know if sorry is enough. The next morning, Taylor showed up at our door with a suitcase. Can I stay here for a while? He asked. I can't be in the same house as her anymore. Of course, I said, stepping aside to let him in. What did she say when you told her you were leaving? That I was being manipulated by you, just like Bobby was. That I'd regret choosing sides against family. Taylor dropped his bag and looked at me. But you are family, Heidi. You've been more of a mother to me these past 2 years than she ever was. Bobby emerged from the kitchen, coffee mug in hand. Hey, buddy, you okay? No, Taylor said honestly. But I will be. We all will be. That afternoon, Paige called. I wanted to thank you, she said without preamble. For what? For having the courage to do what I couldn't. I've been living in fear of her my entire life, and you freed me from that. How is she handling everything? Paige was quiet for a moment. She's not. She's holed up in the house, refusing to see anyone or answer the phone. I think reality is finally hitting her. Do you think she'll ever admit what she did was wrong? No. She'll go to her grave believing she was protecting people from themselves. That's who she is. The fellowship committee reached out to me the following week. They offered to reconsider my application based on the corrected information, but I turned them down. Why? Alyssa asked when I told her. This is what you wanted. It was what I wanted before all this happened. Now, I don't know. The whole experience changed me. Changed you how? I thought about it. I learned I'm capable of things I never thought I was. Good things and terrible things. I destroyed a family to get justice, and I'm not sure that makes me a hero. You stopped a predator who was ruining innocent people's lives. I did, but I also lost my husband's trust, maybe permanently. I turned his brother against his mother. I tore apart a family that was built on lies and control. Maybe, but it was still a family. Zayn stopped by that evening to check on us. He'd been cleared of any wrongdoing in the investigation, but I knew he was still worried about the fallout. Any word from Harmony? He asked. Bobby shook his head. She's been radio silent since the termination. Paige says she won't even come to the door. What do you think she'll do now? I don't know, Bobby said. Start over somewhere else, probably. She's too proud to admit defeat. Will she be able to get another job in academia? Not likely. This kind of scandal follows you. As Zayn left, I realized something. Harmony had spent her career destroying other people's futures, and now her own future was destroyed. There was a certain poetic justice in that. But as I watched Bobby struggle with the wreckage of his family, I wondered if justice was worth the cost. Taylor appeared in the doorway, backpack slung over his shoulder. I'm going to stay with a friend tonight, he said. Give you two some space to figure things out. After he left, Bobby and I sat on opposite ends of our couch, the distance between us feeling like an ocean. So, what happens now? I asked. Bobby was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I nodded, accepting that some victories come with prices too high to celebrate. I'd gotten my justice, but I'd lost something precious in the process. The truth had set me free, but it had also set everything else on fire. And now we all had to live in the ashes.
The needle went in for the 347th time, and I didn't even flinch anymore. My name is Melina, and I used to be the kind of person who passed out getting blood drawn. Now I could probably perform my own injections blindfolded. 3 years of IVF will do that to you. Turn you into someone you don't recognize. Someone who measures life in hormone cycles and embryo grades instead of birthdays and anniversaries. This is it, Victor said, squeezing my hand as Dr. Martinez prepared the transfer. I can feel it this time. I wanted to believe him. God, how I wanted to believe him. But after 17 failed attempts, hope felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. The clinic walls had become more familiar than our bedroom. The nurses knew my coffee order. I had a frequent patient discount for crying out loud. The embryo looks perfect. Dr. Martinez said, adjusting the ultrasound screen. Grade AA, your best quality yet. Victor's grip tightened. See? This is our baby, Mel. I know it, I nodded, watching our last viable embryo disappear into the catheter. Our final shot. The embryo we'd been saving, the one that had survived when all the others hadn't. My body had been through hell. The surgeries, the medications that made me feel like I was losing my mind, the weight gain, the mood swings that nearly destroyed us twice. Now we wait, Dr. Martinez said, patting my shoulder. 2 weeks, then we'll know for sure. 2 weeks. 14 days of walking on eggshells, analyzing every cramp, every twinge, every moment of nausea that might mean everything or nothing at all. The drive home was quiet. Victor kept glancing at me like I might shatter, which wasn't entirely wrong. I felt fragile in a way that had nothing to do with the procedure and everything to do with the weight of this being our last chance. Want to stop for ice cream? He asked. I'm not pregnant yet, Victor. But you could be. I almost smiled. Almost. Okay, ice cream. We sat in the parking lot of the Dairy Queen, eating chocolate sundaes like teenagers, and for a moment I remembered why I'd fallen in love with him. Victor had this way of making ordinary moments feel special, of finding light in the darkest places. It's what had gotten us through the first year of treatments, then the second. Whatever happens, he said, we're going to be okay. I wanted to ask him how he could be so sure, but I was too tired for that conversation. We'd had it before, about adoption, about living child-free, about all the other paths we could take, but none of them felt real to me. This had to work. It had to. The call came on a Tuesday morning, exactly 14 days later. I was in the middle of a client presentation when my phone buzzed with Dr. Martinez's number. I excused myself and stepped into the hallway, my heart hammering against my ribs. Melina, I'm so sorry. The words hit me like a physical blow. I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the floor, the phone pressed to my ear as Dr. Martinez explained about hormone levels and negative results, and how sometimes these things just don't work out. I don't remember hanging up. I don't remember driving home. I just remember Victor finding me on our couch, still in my work clothes, staring at nothing. Mel? He sat down beside me, his face already crumbling. What did they say? It didn't work. He pulled me against him, and we cried together like we had so many times before. But this felt different, final. We'd used up our savings, maxed out credit cards, put our entire lives on hold for 3 years. There was nothing left to try. I'm sorry, I whispered into his shirt. I'm so sorry I can't do this. Hey. He tilted my chin up. This isn't your fault. None of this is your fault. We held each other until the sun went down, and then Victor made us grilled cheese sandwiches that we barely touched. We went to bed early, wrapped around each other like survivors of a shipwreck. The next morning, Victor was different, energized in a way I hadn't seen in months. I've been thinking, he said over coffee. We're not done yet. Victor, we can't afford the house. He leaned forward, his eyes bright. We could take out a second mortgage. One more try, Mel. Just one more. I stared at him. Our house was the only thing we had left that was truly ours, the only security we hadn't gambled away on maybe babies. I know it's a lot to ask, he continued, but think about it. We've come so far, and Dr. Martinez said we could try again with donor eggs, increase our chances significantly. Victor. Family first, right? That's what we've always said. Our family is worth everything. Something in his tone made me pause. The way he said, family first, like he was quoting someone else. But before I could ask, he was pulling out his laptop, showing me mortgage calculators and success rates, and all the reasons why this could work. 2 hours later, I was signing papers through tears, watching our home become collateral for one last desperate gamble. Victor kissed my forehead and whispered promises about how this time would be different. I believed him. God help me. I believed him. The email notification popped up on my phone while I was brushing my teeth 3 days later. A shipping confirmation from Pottery Barn Kids. I nearly choked on my toothpaste. "Victor?" I called out, but he was already in the shower. I stared at the screen, reading the details twice. A $3,200 nursery set, crib, changing table, dresser, the works. Delivery address, 847 Maple Street. That was Jolie's address. Victor's sister, Jolie. My hands started shaking. There had to be an explanation. Maybe she'd ordered something and accidentally used our credit card. It happens sometimes with family accounts, but $200? And why would she need a nursery set? Jolie had been trying to get pregnant for years with no luck. She'd made that abundantly clear at every family gathering, usually while shooting pointed looks at my still flat stomach. "Hey, babe, did your sister mention buying baby furniture?" I asked when Victor emerged from the bathroom, towel around his waist. He froze for just a second. "Baby furniture?" "I got a shipping notification. Pottery Barn Kids, delivered to her house." "Oh." He turned away, rummaging through his dresser. "Yeah, she mentioned something about that. Helping out a friend, I think. You know how Jolie is with her charity projects. The explanation felt thin, but I wanted to believe it. I needed to believe it. We were barely holding ourselves together as it was. "A $200 charity project." "You know my family." Victor pulled on his shirt without meeting my eyes. "They go big or go home." That afternoon, I couldn't concentrate on work. The shipping notification kept nagging at me like a splinter. During my lunch break, I drove past Jolie's house. The delivery truck was just pulling away, and I watched through my windshield as Daryl, Jolie's husband, signed for multiple large boxes. He looked excited, not like someone receiving donations for charity. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, trying to make sense of it. Maybe they were finally doing IVF too. But Jolie had always been vocal about not wanting to go through what I'd been through. "All those hormones and procedures," she'd said once. "There has to be a more natural way." My phone buzzed with a text from Victor. "Working late tonight. Don't wait up." Another late night. He'd been having a lot of those lately. When I got home, I found myself standing in our spare room. The room we'd painted yellow 3 years ago. The room where we'd assembled and disassembled a crib 4 different times after failed transfers. The room that now served as storage for all our broken dreams. I opened Victor's laptop to pay some bills. He'd left his email open, and I wasn't trying to snoop, but a message thread caught my eye. The subject line read, "Family Legacy Project." My cursor hovered over it. I shouldn't look. Married couples deserved privacy, but something cold and sharp was growing in my chest, and I clicked before I could stop myself. The conversation was between Victor and his mother, Naomi. Dozens of messages going back weeks. Naomi: "The clinic confirmed everything is ready. Jolie is so grateful." Victor: "She deserves this. Family first always." Naomi: "You're doing the right thing. Melina will understand eventually." Victor: "She doesn't need to know the details. What matters is keeping our legacy alive." Naomi. Jolie's appointment is Thursday. Dr. Martinez said the embryo is perfect quality. My vision blurred. I read the messages again, then again, trying to make them say something different. But the words stayed the same. Our embryo. They were talking about our embryo. I scrolled up, finding older messages. Victor. The mortgage went through. We have enough to cover everything. The procedure, the medications, plus extra for the nursery. Naomi. Jolie picked out the most beautiful furniture. She has such good taste. Victor. Melina signed everything yesterday. She has no idea. The laptop slipped from my hands, clattering onto the hardwood floor. I was hyperventilating, the room spinning around me. This couldn't be real. Victor wouldn't do this. He couldn't. But the evidence was right there in black and white. I stumbled to the bathroom and threw up until there was nothing left. Then I sat on the cold tile floor, my back against the bathtub, trying to process what I'd just read. They'd taken our embryo, our last chance, the baby we'd mortgaged our house for, the baby I'd destroyed my body trying to create. They'd given it to Jolie. My phone rang. Victor's name flashed on the screen. Hey, I answered, surprised by how normal my voice sounded. Just checking in. How are you feeling? Fine, just tired. Good. Listen, Mom wants us to come over this weekend. Some kind of family celebration. What are we celebrating? A pause. I'll tell you later. Love you. He hung up before I could respond. I sat there in the bathroom until it got dark, pieces clicking into place. Victor's late nights, his sudden optimism about the mortgage, the way he'd avoided my eyes when I asked about the furniture delivery. Family first, he'd said when I signed the papers. Not our family. His family. I pulled myself up and walked back to the laptop. There were more emails, more messages. I read every single one, documenting the betrayal in excruciating detail. Then I opened a new browser window and searched for fertility fraud attorneys. If they wanted to play family games, I'd show them what family loyalty really looked like. I called the fertility clinic first thing Monday morning, my hands steady for the first time in days. Hi, this is Melina Bryant. I need to schedule a consultation about my recent cycle. Of course, Mrs. Bryant. Dr. Martinez has an opening Thursday at 2. Actually, I was hoping to speak with someone about billing discrepancies. There seems to be some confusion about which procedures were performed and when. The receptionist's voice shifted slightly. I can transfer you to our billing department. That would be perfect. 20 minutes later, I had what I needed. Jolie Bryant Tucker had indeed received an embryo transfer 2 weeks ago. The same day Victor told me our last embryo had failed. I sat in my car outside the clinic, staring at the printout I'd somehow convinced them to give me. There it was in black and white. My embryo, transferred to my sister-in-law while I was mourning its supposed failure at home. My phone buzzed. Jailer. Coffee. You sounded weird in your text last night. Can you meet me at Brewster's? I need to tell you something. 30 minutes later, I slid the clinic paperwork across the table to my best friend. Jailer's eyes widened as she read. Holy shit, Mel! Are you telling me? They stole my embryo. Victor, his mother, his sister. They planned the whole thing. Jailer's coffee cup hit the table hard. This is insane. Like, actually insane. You need to call the police. And say what? My husband gave our embryo to his sister. They'll ask if I consented, and technically, I signed papers. Papers for your own treatment, not for Jolie's. I pulled out my phone and showed her the email thread I'd screenshotted. Jayla read in silence, her face growing darker with each message. "Melina will understand eventually," she quoted. "Are you kidding me right now?" "There's more." I scrolled to another message. "Look at this one from last month." Naomi. "Jolie's so excited she can barely contain herself. She keeps talking about finally having the baby she deserves." Victor. "She'll be a great mother. Better than—" The message cut off there, but we both knew what he'd been about to say. "I'm going to kill him," Jayla said flatly. "I'm literally going to murder your husband." "Get in line." "Mel, you need a lawyer. Like, yesterday. This is fraud. This is theft. This is— I don't even know what this is, but it's illegal as hell." I nodded, pulling up the list of attorneys I'd researched. "I already have some names." "Good. What else do you need? Evidence. More than just emails. I need to know everything. How they did it, when they planned it, who else knew." Jayla leaned forward. "What are you thinking?" "Victor's been working late a lot. Tonight I'm going to do some digging." "I'm coming with you." "Jayla?" "Nope. You're not doing this alone. Besides, you need a witness for whatever you find." That evening, Victor texted his usual excuse about working late. I waited until 8. Then Jayla came over with takeout and a bottle of wine. "Liquid courage," she said, uncorking it. "Now show me everything." We spread out on the living room floor like we were planning a heist. Victor's laptop, printed emails, bank statements I'd pulled from our files, and the clinic paperwork. "Look at this," I said, pointing to a credit card statement. 3 charges to Miracle Beginnings Boutique last month, $500 each. What's Miracle Beginnings? I Googled it. High-end maternity store, the kind that sells $200 pregnancy pillows. So, Jolie's been shopping for maternity clothes with your money. Our money. The mortgage money. Jayla poured herself more wine. "This keeps getting worse. What else?" I opened Victor's browser history. He's been researching pregnancy announcements. Look, creative ways to announce pregnancy to family. Best pregnancy reveal ideas. How to share pregnancy news. They're planning some kind of announcement. At the family celebration this weekend, the one Victor mentioned, Jayla sat back. "Oh my God, they're going to announce Jolie's pregnancy, your pregnancy, using your baby." The reality hit me like a truck. I'd be sitting there, still mourning our failed cycle, while they celebrated stealing our child. "I can't go," I whispered. "Yes, you can, and you will, because by then, you're going to have a plan." My phone rang. "Victor." "Answer it," Jayla mouthed. "Act normal." "Hey," I said, forcing lightness into my voice. "Just wanted to check in. You okay? You seemed quiet this morning." "I'm fine. Just tired. Jayla's here keeping me company." "Good. I'm glad you're not alone. Listen, about this weekend." "The family thing?" "Yeah, it's going to be special. Really special. I think it'll cheer you up." I met Jayla's eyes. She looked murderous. "I'm looking forward to it," I lied. "Great. I love you, Mel. You know that, right?" "Of course." After I hung up, Jayla shook her head. "The audacity. The absolute fucking audacity." He actually thinks he's being kind, like this is some gift he's giving me. What gift? Watching his sister raise your baby? I stared at the evidence scattered around us. I need more than this. I need something that proves intent, proves they knew exactly what they were doing. What about Caden? Giler suggested. Victor's younger brother. He always seemed decent. You think he knows? Only one way to find out. I found Caden's number and called before I could lose my nerve. Melina, is everything okay? Can we meet? I need to ask you something, and I'd rather do it in person. A long pause. This is about the weekend, isn't it? My blood went cold. What do you mean? Meet me at Central Park tomorrow, the bench by the duck pond, noon. He hung up. Giler and I looked at each other. He knows, she said. Yeah, he knows. Caden was already waiting when I arrived at the park, hunched over on the bench like he was carrying the weight of the world. He looked up when he heard my footsteps, and I could see the guilt written all over his face. I'm sorry, he said before I even sat down. I'm so fucking sorry, Melina. So you know. He nodded, staring at his hands. I tried to talk them out of it. I swear I did. But Mom, she gets these ideas, and Victor just goes along with whatever she says. Tell me everything. Caden glanced around like he was afraid someone might overhear. It started months ago. Jolie was having another breakdown about not being able to get pregnant, and Mom suggested they look into using a donor embryo. But then she found out about your last one, the one you were saving. And she convinced Victor it was the perfect solution. Keep it in the family, she said. Make sure the Bryant bloodline continues. I felt sick. What about me? What about what I wanted? Mom said you'd understand eventually, that you'd be happy to help Jolie become a mother. He looked at me with desperate eyes. I told them it was wrong. I told them you deserved to know. But you didn't tell me. I should have. God, I should have called you the minute I found out. But they're my family. And I... He stopped, shaking his head. That's not an excuse. There is no excuse. When did they do the transfer? 2 weeks ago. The same day Victor told you it failed. Dr. Martinez was in on it. They paid him extra to keep quiet and falsify your records. The betrayal kept getting deeper. Even our doctor, the man I'd trusted with my body and my dreams, had sold me out. There's more, Caden continued. The mortgage money? Most of it went to Jolie. New wardrobe, prenatal vitamins, private ultrasounds, a doula. Mom's been treating her like a princess. And the celebration this weekend? Baby shower. They're calling it a miracle announcement. Jolie's going to reveal the pregnancy to the whole family. I stood up abruptly, pacing to the edge of the pond. A family of ducks swam by, completely oblivious to the fact that my entire world was imploding. Melina? Caden's voice was small behind me. I need you to do something for me. Anything. I turned back to him. I need you to get me proof. Text messages, emails, anything that shows this was planned. I can try, but not try. Do it. You said you're sorry. Prove it. He nodded quickly. Okay. Yes. I'll get you whatever you need. And Caden, don't tell them we talked. I won't. I promise. That afternoon, I sat in the waiting room of Sloane Davidson's law office, clutching a folder full of evidence. The receptionist had warned me that Sloane was expensive, aggressive, and didn't take cases she couldn't win. Perfect. Mrs. Bryant. A woman in a sharp black suit emerged from an office. She was younger than I'd expected, maybe 40, with steel-grey eyes that seemed to see right through me. I'm Sloane. Come in. Her office was all glass and chrome, with law degrees covering one wall and a view of the city skyline. She gestured for me to sit across from her massive desk. Tell me what happened. I laid out everything. The failed IVF cycles, the mortgage, the stolen embryo, the emails. Sloane listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes on a legal pad. Do you have the clinic records? She asked when I finished. I handed over the paperwork. She studied it carefully. This is good. Very good. What about financial records? Bank statements, credit card bills, everything I could find. And you said there's a family member willing to cooperate? Maybe. He's supposed to get me more evidence. Sloane leaned back in her chair. Here's what we're looking at. Fertility fraud, medical malpractice, theft, conspiracy. This is criminal, not just civil. We're talking felony charges. Good. It won't be easy. Your husband's family will fight back hard. They'll try to paint you as unstable, vindictive. They'll say you consented to the procedure. I have the emails. They prove I didn't know. The emails help, but we need more. We need to catch them in the act of covering it up, or better yet, celebrating their crime. An idea started forming. What if we could record them admitting what they did? That would be ideal, but getting them to confess won't be simple. What about the baby shower? If I went, if I could get them talking, Sloane's eyes lit up. That's risky, but if you could get them on record admitting to the fraud... She paused. I have a contact at the police department. Detective Fleming specializes in medical fraud cases. If we can build a solid case, he might be willing to make arrests. At the baby shower? It would certainly send a message. My phone buzzed with a text from Caden. Got what you need? Can we meet tonight? I showed Sloane the message. Your brother-in-law might be the key to this whole thing, she said. If he's willing to testify, if he can provide more evidence. He will. He feels guilty enough. Good. Here's what I want you to do. Meet with him tonight. Get whatever he has. Then we'll contact Detective Fleming and see about setting up surveillance for the baby shower. Surveillance? Audio, video, the works. If they're going to celebrate stealing your baby, let's make sure we have it all on record. I left Sloane's office feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. Not the desperate, fragile hope of maybe getting pregnant, but the cold, sharp hope of justice. My phone rang as I reached my car. Victor. Hey babe, just confirming for Saturday. Mom wants us there by 2. She's so excited for you to see what Jolie's been up to. I can't wait, I said, and for the first time in weeks, I meant it. You sound better today, more like yourself. I'm feeling much better, like I'm finally seeing things clearly. That's great to hear. I love you, Mel. I know you do, Victor. I know exactly how much you love me. After I hung up, I sat in my car for a long moment, watching people walk by on the sidewalk. Normal people living normal lives, unaware that some families were capable of such breathtaking betrayal. But they were about to find out. Saturday morning, I stood in front of my closet for 20 minutes, trying to decide what to wear to my own humiliation. Victor was downstairs making coffee, humming like he didn't have a care in the world. You almost ready? He called up. Mom hates when people are late. 5 more minutes, I called back, slipping on the wire Sloane had given me. The recording device was smaller than a matchbox, tucked under my blouse where no one would see it. Detective Fleming had briefed me the night before. Stay calm. Ask open-ended questions. Let them talk. Don't push too hard or they'll get suspicious. Easy for him to say. He wasn't about to walk into a celebration of his own betrayal. Caden had delivered everything he'd promised, screenshots of family group chats, voice memos of phone calls, even photos of Jolie's ultrasound appointments. The evidence was damning, but Sloane wanted them on record admitting it themselves. "Perfect for court," she'd said. "Nothing beats a confession." Victor was waiting by the car, holding a wrapped gift. "What's that?" I asked. "Just a little something for Jolie. You know how she loves those fancy baby blankets." A baby blanket, bought with our mortgage money, for our stolen baby. "That's thoughtful," I managed. The drive to his mother's house took 15 minutes. 15 minutes of Victor chattering about work, the weather, anything except what was really happening. I watched familiar neighborhoods blur past, thinking about how this was probably the last time I'd make this drive as his wife. "You're quiet today," Victor said as we pulled into the driveway. "Just tired." "Well, this will cheer you up. Trust me." The house was decorated like something out of a magazine. Pink and gold balloons, a banner that read, "Miracle Baby," tables covered in expensive linens. My mortgage money had bought quite the party. Naomi opened the door before we could knock, beaming like she'd won the lottery. "Melina, sweetheart, come in, come in. Isn't this exciting?" "Very exciting," I said, letting her hug me. "What exactly are we celebrating?" "Oh, you'll see. Jolie has the most wonderful news to share." The living room was packed with family and friends, everyone holding champagne glasses and looking expectant. Jolie sat in the center of it all, like a queen on her throne, glowing in a flowing dress that probably cost more than my car payment. "Melina!" She jumped up and hugged me tight. "I'm so glad you're here. This is going to be such a special day." I wouldn't miss it. Daryl appeared at Jolie's side, grinning like an idiot. "Can you believe it? After all these years?" "Believe what?" I asked innocently. "Oh, we can't spoil the surprise," Naomi interrupted, steering me toward the refreshment table. "But let's just say prayers really do get answered." I accepted a glass of sparkling cider and mingled, making small talk while the wire recorded everything. Aunt Patricia gushed about how blessed the family was. Cousin Mark talked about the miracle they'd all been praying for. Uncle Robert made jokes about Jolie finally getting what she deserved. If only they knew. "Attention, everyone!" Naomi clinked her glass with a fork. "Jolie has something very special to share." The room fell silent. Jolie stood up, one hand on her still flat stomach, tears already streaming down her face. "I can't believe I'm finally saying this," she began, her voice shaking with emotion. "After 6 years of trying, after so many disappointments, Daryl and I are having a baby." The room erupted in cheers and applause. People rushed forward to hug her, to touch her belly, to offer congratulations. I stayed where I was, clapping politely, watching my sister-in-law bask in the glory of carrying my child. "But that's not all," Jolie continued once the noise died down. "This baby is extra special because it's truly a family effort. Thanks to the generosity and sacrifice of people in this very room, our dream is finally coming true." More applause. Victor squeezed my shoulder, probably thinking I was overcome with emotion for Jolie's happiness. "I want to especially thank my mother-in-law Naomi for her wisdom and guidance through this process," Jolie went on. "And my wonderful brother-in-law Victor for making this possible." Victor stepped forward, raising his glass. "To family," he said, "to the lengths we go for the people we love, to making sure the Bryant legacy continues, no matter what sacrifices are required. To family," the room chorused. I raised my glass with everyone else, the wire capturing every word. "Speech! Speech!" someone called out. Victor looked at me. "Mel, want to say something?" This was it. My moment to either blow everything up or play along until the police arrived. I chose to play along. "I'm just so happy for Jolie," I said, my voice carrying across the room. "After everything she's been through, she deserves this miracle, and I'm grateful to be part of such a close family, one that really looks out for each other." "Oh, Melina?" Jolie dabbed at her eyes. "You're the best sister-in-law ever. I hope someday you'll understand how much this means to me." "Oh, I understand perfectly." My phone buzzed with a text. I glanced down casually. "Sloane, we're all here. When you're ready." I looked around the room one more time, at Victor beaming with pride, at Jolie glowing with stolen joy, at Naomi orchestrating it all like the puppet master she was, at all the family and friends celebrating a lie. "Actually," I said, setting down my glass, "there is something I'd like to say." The room quieted again, everyone turning to look at me expectantly. "I want to thank everyone for coming today to celebrate this very special occasion. It really means the world to see how much this family supports each other through thick and thin, no matter what." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. "And Jolie," I continued, looking directly at her, "I want you to know that I understand exactly what you've done here. The planning, the coordination, the attention to detail, it's really quite impressive." She smiled uncertainly. "Thank you? No, thank you. All of you, for showing me exactly who you really are." I walked to the front door and opened it wide. Detective Fleming stepped through first, followed by 2 uniformed officers, and Sloane in her sharp black suit. "Good afternoon," Detective Fleming announced to the suddenly silent room. "I'm Detective Fleming with the Metro Police. We have warrants for the arrest of Victor Bryant, Jolie Bryant-Tucker, and Naomi Bryant on charges of fertility fraud, conspiracy, and theft." The room exploded into chaos. The champagne glass slipped from Jolie's hand, shattering on the hardwood floor. For a moment, nobody moved. Then, everything happened at once. "What the hell is going on?" Victor stepped forward, his face flushing red. "Melina, what did you do?" "I did what you should have done months ago," I said, pulling the recording device from under my blouse. I told the truth. Naomi pushed through the crowd, her face twisted with rage. "You little bitch! How dare you bring police into my home?" "Your home!" I laughed, the sound sharp and bitter. "This party was paid for with my mortgage money, the money you stole to fund your little family project." Detective Fleming stepped forward, handcuffs ready. "Victor Bryant, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fertility fraud, medical fraud, and theft. You have the right to remain silent." "This is insane!" Victor backed away, knocking into Uncle Robert. "Melina, tell them this is a mistake. Tell them you're just upset about the IVF failing." "The IVF didn't fail, Victor. You gave our embryo to your sister." Gasps rippled through the room. Aunt Patricia clutched her pearls. Cousin Mark's mouth fell open. "That's not... We didn't..." Victor looked around desperately. "Mom, tell them!" But Naomi was busy trying to shield Jolie, who had collapsed into a chair, hyperventilating. "I can't breathe!" Jolie gasped. "I can't breathe! This is going to hurt the baby." "The baby that isn't yours," I said coldly. Sloane stepped forward, legal documents in hand. "Mrs. Bryant-Tucker, we have medical records proving that the embryo currently developing in your uterus belongs to my client. The transfer was performed without her knowledge or consent. "You're lying!" Jolie screamed. "This is my baby. I'm the one who's pregnant. I'm the one carrying it. With my genetic material." I shot back. My eggs, fertilized with my husband's sperm, created during my IVF cycle. Daryl, who had been standing frozen in the corner, finally spoke up. "Jolie, what is she talking about? You said the embryo came from an anonymous donor." The room went dead silent. Jolie looked at her husband, then at Naomi, then at Victor. "Daryl, I can explain—" "You lied to me too?" Daryl's voice cracked. "You told me we were using a donor embryo from the clinic's program." "We were! We are! It's the same thing!" "No, it's not!" I stepped closer to her. "A donor consents to give their embryo away. I never consented to anything. You stole from me." Detective Fleming moved toward Victor again. "Sir, I need you to put your hands behind your back." Wait! Victor held up his hands. "Can't we work this out? Family to family. Melina, honey, you're upset. I get it, but calling the police—" "Don't you dare honey me." The words came out like venom. "You mortgaged our house. You lied to my face for months. You let me think I was broken while you were planning to give our baby to someone else." "It wasn't like that." "Then, what was it like, Victor? Explain it to me. Explain how you convinced Dr. Martinez to falsify my medical records. Explain how you used our mortgage money to buy Jolie a whole new wardrobe. Explain how you planned this party to celebrate stealing my child." The crowd was backing away now, sensing the danger in my voice. Some people were quietly slipping out the front door. Naomi stepped between us. "You selfish little girl! Jolie can't have children of her own. We were helping her by destroying me. You've had 3 years of chances, 3 years of failures. At least this way the baby stays in the family. My family, not yours. You married into this family. That makes it ours too." I turned to address the remaining guests, my voice carrying across the room. "Did you all know? When you came here today to celebrate Jolie's miracle pregnancy, did you know they stole the embryo from me?" Silence. Guilty faces. Aunt Patricia was crying now. "Some miracle," I continued. "Some family." Detective Fleming had finally gotten close enough to Victor to grab his arm. "Sir, you need to comply, or we'll add resisting arrest to the charges." "This is kidnapping!" Naomi shrieked. "You can't take my son!" "Actually, we can." Detective Fleming snapped the handcuffs on Victor's wrists. "We have warrants." Victor looked at me over his shoulder as they led him toward the door. "Mel, please, don't do this. We can fix this. We can try again. With what money, Victor? You mortgaged our house, remember? For family first." His face crumpled. "I thought you'd understand eventually. I thought you'd be happy for Jolie." "Happy?" I laughed, the sound echoing off the walls. "You thought I'd be happy to watch your sister raise my baby? You thought I'd be grateful for the privilege of funding my own betrayal?" The second officer was approaching Jolie now. She clung to Daryl's arm. "Please," she begged. "I'm pregnant. You can't arrest a pregnant woman." "We can and we are," the officer replied. "Jolie Bryant Tucker, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fertility fraud and theft." "The baby!" she wailed as they cuffed her. "What about the baby?" "That's for the courts to decide," Sloane said crisply. "But I can tell you that my client will be seeking full custody of her biological child." Daryl stepped forward, his face pale. "Wait. If the baby is biologically theirs, then what happens to me? I thought I was going to be a father." "You were never going to be a father," I said, not without sympathy. "You were going to be an accessory to theft." The third officer reached for Naomi, who was still screaming about family loyalty and ungrateful daughters-in-law. "This isn't over," she shouted as they led her away. "You'll regret this. Family is everything, and you just destroyed yours." "No," I called after her. "You destroyed it the moment you decided I didn't matter." Caden appeared at my elbow. He'd been so quiet I'd forgotten he was there. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I should have stopped this months ago." "Yes, you should have." "Are you going to be okay?" I looked around the destroyed party. Overturned chairs, abandoned champagne glasses, pink and gold decorations that now seemed obscene. "I'm going to be better than okay," I said. "I'm going to be free." The story broke on social media before the evening news even aired. Someone at the baby shower had live-streamed the arrests, and by Sunday morning, "baby shower arrest" was trending on Twitter. My phone hadn't stopped ringing. Reporters, distant relatives, old college friends who suddenly wanted to check in. I'd turned it off after the 15th call from a producer wanting me on their morning show. Jayla brought coffee and bagels to my house around 10, letting herself in with the spare key I'd given her years ago. "You look like hell," she said, setting the food on my kitchen counter. "Thanks. That's exactly what I needed to hear." "Have you seen the news?" I shook my head. "I can't. Not yet." Channel 7 called Victor's family fertility fraudsters. The story's everywhere, Mel. People are calling you a hero. "I don't feel like a hero." Jayla pulled up a chair next to me. "What do you feel like?" "Empty, angry, relieved, terrified." I rubbed my face with both hands. "All at the same time." "That's normal. You just blew up your entire life." "They blew up my life. I just lit the fuse." My phone buzzed with a text from Sloan. "Need to meet today. New developments." "Sloan wants to see me," I told Jayla. "Good or bad?" With her, it's hard to tell. An hour later, I sat across from Sloan in her office, trying to read her expression. "The district attorney is moving forward with all charges," she began. "Victor, Jolie, and Naomi are looking at serious prison time if convicted." "Good. There's more. Dr. Martinez has been arrested too. Turns out your case wasn't his first. The medical board is investigating at least 6 other instances of fertility fraud at his clinic." I felt sick. 6 other women? Maybe more. Your case broke it wide open. "What about Jolie's pregnancy?" Sloane's expression grew complicated. "That's where it gets tricky. She's claiming emotional distress, saying the arrest caused her to have complications. Her lawyer is pushing for house arrest instead of jail time." "Complications?" "Spotting, elevated blood pressure. Could be real, could be manufactured. Either way, it complicates things." I stared out the window at the city below. "What does that mean for the baby? If she carries to term, we'll seek custody immediately after birth. DNA tests will prove it's biologically yours and Victor's. But, Melina..." Sloane leaned forward. "You need to prepare yourself for the possibility that she might miscarry. The stress, the legal proceedings. Pregnancy is fragile under the best circumstances." The thought hit me like a physical blow. After everything, I might still lose the baby. "There's something else," Sloane continued. "Victor's lawyer reached out. He wants to make a deal." "What kind of deal?" "Full confession in exchange for reduced charges. He's claiming he was manipulated by his mother and sister. that he didn't understand the legal implications. Bullshit. I agree, but it might help our case if he testifies against them. I don't want his help. I want him to face the consequences. Understood, but think about it. His testimony could ensure Jolie and Naomi get the maximum sentences. My phone rang. Unknown number. Don't answer it, Sloane advised. Probably another reporter. But I was already looking at the voicemail notification. Then another. Then another. Mel, it's Aunt Patricia. I had no idea what they were doing. I'm so sorry. Melina, this is Cousin Sarah. I can't believe Victor would do this to you. If you need anything... Hey, it's Mike from college. Saw the news. You're a badass. Call me if you want to talk. Jayla scrolled through my social media mentions while I listened to voicemails. Holy shit, Mel. Look at this. She showed me her phone. There's a GoFundMe for you. Help Melina fight fertility fraud. It's already raised $12,000. People are donating money to me. People are pissed. Look at these comments. She read from the screen. This woman is a warrior. Sue them for everything they're worth. I hope she gets her baby back. And the negative ones. Jayla's face darkened. There are some. People saying you should have handled it privately, that you destroyed a family over jealousy. Let me see. Mel, don't... I grabbed the phone. The comments were brutal. She's just bitter because she can't have kids naturally. Calling the police on your own family. Psycho behavior. That poor pregnant woman. The stress could kill the baby. I handed the phone back. At least now I know who my real friends are. The people who matter know the truth, Jayla said firmly. That evening, Caden showed up at my door with a bottle of wine and a guilty expression. I brought reinforcements, he said, holding up the bottle. Figured you might need them. Are you supposed to be talking to me? Won't that hurt your family's case? Probably, but I don't care anymore. He followed me into the living room. I testified to the grand jury today. You did? Told them everything. The planning, the lies, the way they celebrated while you were grieving. He sat down heavily on my couch. My own mother, Mel. I can't believe my own mother did this. How are you holding up? Terrible. Victor won't speak to me. Mom's lawyer says I'm a traitor. Jolie's husband filed for divorce. Darryl left her. This morning, took his stuff and moved back in with his parents. Can't say I blame him. We sat in silence for a moment. Do you regret it? I asked. Testifying? Caden looked at me with tired eyes. The only thing I regret is not stopping it sooner. You didn't deserve any of this. Your family hates me now. My family hates themselves. They just don't want to admit it yet. What happens now? Now we wait. For the trial, for the baby, for whatever comes next. He opened the wine and poured 2 glasses. But Mel, whatever happens, you did the right thing. Don't let anyone tell you different. I raised my glass. To doing the right thing, even when it costs everything. To doing the right thing, he echoed. We drank in silence, 2 survivors of a family that had imploded under the weight of its own lies. Outside, reporters were still camped on my lawn, waiting for a statement I wasn't ready to give. But for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. The courtroom was packed when the verdicts came down. I sat in the front row with Sloane, watching as the judge read each charge. Victor Bryant, on the count of conspiracy to commit fertility fraud, we find the defendant guilty. Victor's shoulders sagged. He didn't look back at me. Jolie Bryant Tucker, on the count of fertility fraud in the first degree, we find the defendant guilty. Jolie was 8 months pregnant now, her belly straining against the defendant's table. She'd been on house arrest since the complications started, but the baby had held on. My baby. Naomi Bryant, on the count of conspiracy and theft, we find the defendant guilty. Naomi finally looked at me then, her eyes full of pure hatred. I stared back without flinching. The judge continued with sentencing. Victor got 3 years. Jolie got 2 years, suspended until after the birth. Naomi got 5. Your Honor? Sloane stood up. We'd like to address the matter of custody. The court has reviewed the DNA evidence and the circumstances of conception. Custody of the minor child will be awarded to the biological parents, Melina and Victor Bryant, with Melina Bryant having primary custody given the defendant's incarceration. Jolie let out a wail that echoed through the courtroom. That's my baby. I carried it. I'm the mother. You're the surrogate, the judge said firmly. An unwilling surrogate, but a surrogate nonetheless. The child will be placed with its biological mother immediately upon birth. Darrell, sitting in the gallery, was crying quietly. I almost felt sorry for him. After court, Sloane and I walked to her car through a crowd of reporters. How does it feel to get justice? One shouted. Are you prepared to raise the child alone? Called another. I stopped walking and turned to face them. I want to say something. Sloane grabbed my arm. Mel, you don't have to. Yes, I do. I stepped up to the microphones. 3 years ago, I started IVF because I wanted to be a mother. I went through hell, physically, emotionally, financially, because I believed family was worth any sacrifice. I was right about that. Family is worth any sacrifice. But the people who stole from me, they were never my family. What do you want other women to know? A reporter asked. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, investigate. Don't let anyone convince you that you're being paranoid or ungrateful. And if someone betrays you this deeply, don't protect them just because you share DNA or a last name. Do you forgive your husband? I looked directly into the camera. Forgiveness is earned. Victor chose his mother and sister over his wife. He chose their wants over my rights. He chose to lie to me every single day for months while I grieved what I thought was our lost child. So, no, I don't forgive him. And I never will. What's next for you? I'm going to be a mother. Finally. 2 weeks later, Jayla drove me to the hospital at 3 a.m. Jolie had gone into labor. You sure you want to be there? Jayla asked as we parked. I've been waiting for this moment for 4 years. I'm not missing it. The delivery room was tense. Jolie's lawyer, my lawyer, a social worker, 2 nurses, and Dr. Peterson, the new obstetrician who'd taken over the case. Jolie was in active labor, sweating and screaming. I can't do this, she gasped between contractions. I can't give up my baby. It's not your baby, I said quietly from my chair in the corner. She looked at me with wild eyes. I carried it. I felt it kick. I sang to it every night. You stole it. Mrs. Bryant Tucker, Dr. Peterson said gently, you need to focus on the delivery now. We can discuss everything else afterward. But there wouldn't be anything to discuss. The court order was clear. At 6:47 a.m., my daughter was born. She was perfect. 7 pounds, 2 ounces, with a full head of dark hair and Victor's nose. When Dr. Peterson placed her in my arms, she opened her eyes and looked right at me. Hello, baby girl, I whispered. I'm your mama. I've been waiting so long to meet you. Jolie was sobbing on the delivery table. Please, please let me hold her. Just once. I looked at my daughter, and felt something I'd never experienced before. Pure, fierce, protective love. No. Melina, please. You had 9 months to hold her. 9 months, that should have been mine. You don't get anything else. The social worker stepped forward with paperwork. Mrs. Bryant, we need to complete the custody transfer. I signed my name with my daughter still in my arms. She was mine now. Legally, officially, completely mine. Jailer appeared in the doorway with a car seat and a diaper bag. Ready to go home? More than ready. As we walked past Jolie's room, I heard her crying. Part of me, a very small part, felt sorry for her, but mostly I felt nothing. In the hospital parking lot, I strapped my daughter into her car seat for the first time. What are you going to name her? Jailer asked. I'd been thinking about this for weeks. Hope. Her name is Hope. That's perfect. I looked back at the hospital one last time. Victor was in prison. Jolie was facing 2 years when Hope turned 18 months old. Naomi was already behind bars. Dr. Martinez had lost his license and was facing federal charges. The Bryant family legacy they'd been so desperate to preserve. Destroyed. But my legacy, my daughter, my future, my new life built on truth instead of lies, was just beginning. Let's go home, Hope, I said, getting into the passenger seat. As Jailer drove us away from the hospital, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. The war was over. I had won. And more importantly, I had my daughter. Everything else was just noise.